When 9/11 happened, I was a young child. I was, I think, in 8th grade. You know, growing up, junior high and high school, you certainly got comments, bullying.
Racial profiling is taking a stereotype of any identifiable community and then taking action on that.
A federal judge has come down hard on one of the most controversial police tactics in the country, ordering changes to New York City's so-called stop and frisk policy.
In the post sort of 9/11 world, if you will, this profiling has extended also to many Muslim Americans who are, treated as suspicious and harboring terrorist sympathies, often based merely on the fact of their faith.
Earlier today, I asked John Ashcroft, the Attorney General, to develop specific recommendations to end racial profiling. It's wrong, and we will end it in America.
I wasn't in the U.S. on 9/11. I was living abroad with my husband, and I came back to the U.S. And I was really struck by how much the legal landscape had changed since 9/11.
It has been a profile of anxiety and surveillance.
In New Jersey, the NYPD has spied on mosques, schools, stores, restaurants, taking photographs, scribbling notes, collecting information.
The Associated Press in 2011 published an investigation showing how the New York City Police Department had actually run basically a Muslim surveillance program that tried to, map Muslim communities.
The settlement reached between the NYPD, civil liberties unions, and local Muslim groups who sued the NYPD for what they claimed was illegal spying on Muslims in mosques and elsewhere. The NYPD maintains it did nothing wrong when it came to surveillance of Muslims post 9/11.
Generally speaking, police are meant to serve the communities where they're deployed. They're not meant to be perceived or to behave as an occupying force that's set there to suppress residents.
NYPD officials say they wholeheartedly embrace the new guidelines as a way to strengthen ties with the community.
It gives us a level of oversight and transparency that we didn't have yesterday in terms of enhancing public confidence that we are doing it the way we're supposed to.
So I think that's a big damage that's been done by racial profiling.
And that has really evolved through a number of ways, immediately after 9/11, with the rounding up of, Muslim immigrants by the Bush administration to CVE, formerly put into place by the Obama administration.
These programs will bring together community representatives, public safety officials, religious leaders, and United States attorneys.
CVE is countering violent extremism, and what it did is, we already had a wave of distrust between law enforcement and the Muslim community, but this was a way that created a lot of mistrust between the Muslims and their religious institutions. And it speaks to the high level of anxiety that our community feels.
And this, as with the African American community, has bred a really deep suspicion of police and law enforcement in many American Muslim communities.
For us tonight, President Trump's first major Supreme Court victory, his travel ban on several Muslim-majority countries upheld.
The Muslim ban was a culmination, if you ask me, of years and years of treating Muslims as suspicious.
Kamel Hadoush opened the letter yesterday and outspewed hate. The typewritten note reads in part, "We do not want you here. We do not like you."
And actually, when Trump put it in place, it actually had considerable public support, right? At the same time as many people were out in the streets and protesting against it, there was a big portion of Americans who thought it was a good idea because they had been trained over 15 plus years to treat Muslims as being suspicious.
A lot of people who are doing work right now, organizing and helping the Muslim community, was a result of what happened, in the 2016 election and the Muslim ban itself.
So I think about the little Ilhans who, like me, would also like to experience the American dream.
When that happened, for example, there were no elected officials for office. And the year later, there were approximately 100 Muslims who ran for office because they were not necessarily inspired by what Trump did, but they were, repulsed by it to the point where they were like, I don't want to get into politics, but I have to. my community needs me. And I think that's what happened. We saw a lot of people sacrificing.
The ban itself has been reversed, but now I think they're still dealing with trying to help the people who were caught in the ban. So this is an ongoing thing. And it's interesting that it coexists at the same time as you have very strong calls for racial justice across this country.
I think the younger communities are more comfortable, challenging the status quo. There is a lot of fearlessness from the youth in that, they feel that they don't have to prove that they're American. They just are American. Changing that dynamic, that public image of what a Muslim is and can be. I think the phrase that, people like to use is, I'm unapologetically Muslim, right? I don't think many people could say that after 9/11. We're gaining a voice in a lot of spheres. We are advocating like we've never advocated before.